Mrs. Paffhausen, will you lead the pledge, please? Thank you.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the first item of business we have is to approve the minutes from the October meeting. They were mailed to you in your packet. If you haven't had a chance to look at them, please do so. If you're okay, we can go ahead.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the meeting from the October meeting. Is there any discussion or questions? Those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, Rob, would you introduce our guest, please?
Absolutely, we have to our left, Mr. Caleb Igo and we have Paul Kalski.
Okay, the next thing is the claims and accounts. I think they're on a yellow color this time.
So on page one, most of the way down, 19802, Better Hospital Men's Healthcare for $3,140.76. Just over 3,000 of that is for a trainer fee, and then just a small 56 portion for PTOT speech language for our related services, special education. Flipping on the back of that because it's two-sided. On the second page at the top, BMO MasterCard for $17,237.88, claim 19806. And as you kind of look down through there, you'll see that there's some good chunk of money that's labeled Advanced Opportunity Grant. So that Advanced Opportunity Grant was the grant that we secured last year. It works very similar to our vocational funding to help support our CTE programs. Caleb was a huge and instrumental in pushing to get that put in place, and we received just over $26,000 for that. And so that was split between the 4 different CTE areas, business, IT, ag, and FCS. And so they are utilizing that money. A lot of the costs here are just costs to kind of offset what some of the student charges would be. So for example, Caleb is going to talk a little bit about his trip to nationals. And so some of those costs were deferred to the students because they could utilize some of that funding. And then there is a certain percentage of it that can go to a wide range of different supplies and different things for that. So that is that. Down below that, 19807 BMO MasterCard for $27,828.09. That seems a little bit high, and we'll talk a little bit about kind of the change that Suzanne is doing in the accounting to kind of use the BMO MasterCard and funneling the student activity money through there that normally wasn't going through there, and she'll talk a little bit about that. But I just also wanted to note that there are some pretty significant transportation charges that are on there. We've had a couple of buses that have had some pretty significant problems that have required maintenance, and so John Campbell and Sean have been working hard, and I think that they have everything back operational and moving in the right direction. So that's where some of those charges were. And then maybe Suzanne can explain a little bit about the change to the student account.
So I recently found out that our BMO cards, we get a rebate on it every year, and I found out it's based on how quickly we pay our bill. And so the gal had said there's a couple different options for like paying online, and we're going to attempt that. And we don't do any electronic payments currently through our student account money, which is like all the money that comes in through auditor's office and goes through Bank of Commerce. Maybe in the future we'll get there. And so that's what the student activity line is. That's a amount that would normally be written by a different check out of just the student activity fund. And then the rest of the BMO, I can't quite explain to you why it is always split into two on the claims. That's a whole nother beast. But usually I have 3 paper checks to send in for our credit. I'm gonna try to do it electronically through the treasurers.
What kind of rebate do you get? You
We just got it this fall and between 2,000 and 4,000,
know,
which I thought seemed kind of low. I mean, when we're paying
this much.
$45,000.
We got another one in the spring last spring. That was, close to $7,000 if I'm not mistaken. I remember correctly, if we look back, we might, I don't know if that's accurate, but I just remember us talking a little bit about that. And so, and if it can increase that rebate that comes back, you know, not.
It would seem like it would be a percentage of your.
Yeah,
expense,
exactly.
or whatever.
I did a webinar thing to somebody you did say based on how quickly it's. We're gonna pay it quicker then. And usually I have the checks ready before the statement comes in the mail, so I'm ready to go. Try. See.
It'll bring in some additional. Then if you turn to page 3, claim 19812, M search for $1,958.88, boiler treatment test. Testing for all of the different boilers, and just kind of a side note, we just did recently get Mike English and Sean Leniger boiler certified, and so they did their boiler certification class, and so they're working with Jack to get, and I can't remember, he told me the number of hours, but it's a pretty significant number of hours that they kind of have to log, you know, and doing different things. And so it was kind of a benefit. They had some challenges with one of the boilers and they had to kind of take it apart. And so it was really beneficial for them to be able to kind of see, you know, how the whole thing works from that standpoint. And so, and then just having those additional people and staff that can do the boiler checks is just really helpful. So 19813, the city of Dillon, for $2,094.48. It wasn't significant, but obviously as the weather is shifting, that has started to go down a little bit, and we'll continue to see that decline as we're not doing any of the watering stuff. Outside.
Why are the two, the amounts are the same?
That one's split, yeah. Fund and transportation.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Page 4, 5 Dex imaging for $2,580.73. That is our copier lease charges, overage charges, those different types of things, and we just pay that at different points. So it accumulates and then it gets paid. I don't know how many times a year that.
The leases are monthly and the overage charges, I think, are quarterly.
So.
Yeah.
To increase the budget and amount, but then the overages are in
It's a guess on the part too. Right. Zero.
Yeah. Bottom down there, 19822, Mariah Gladstone for $1,200. That was out of our Carl Perkins grant, but I just thought it would be interesting to note. So Kim Conan brought in Mariah Gladstone. Her sister is the actress Gladstone. What's her first name? Anna? No. She won an Oscar just recently. And so anyways, she came in and she does all kinds of different culinary presentations through the eyes of Native American studies. And so it was really awesome having her come in. She actually traveled here from New York City. She was just on Chopped. And so I don't know when that is going to come out, but it was really fun for the kids. And I just heard a lot of the kids really talk about how kind of powerful it was to have, just that experience and just those connections to, some of the Native American stuff that she brought in. And each one of them got to try dandelion tea. And they all thought it was really sweet, which they were really surprised by. And so, and then she also had her speak in her Native American Studies class as well. So it was just a cool experience to have her do that. And so I'm not think of her, the actress's voice. Lily, thank you. Yeah. On page 5, all the way down 19833 Northwestern Energy Company for $6,676.74. That's our gas and electricity for October. Unfortunately, as our water bill goes down, this bill will continue to increase as the weather is changing. I will say this old cement building here is just so interesting because, of course, in the summer when it's hot outside, it's an ice box in here. And when it's freezing outside and the heat turns on, it's 8 million degrees. So,
And Renee just say it's hot.
Really hard to try to regulate it, but it's the old building and the old setup. It's just really hard.
Gyms, they were young too.
Was it?
Oh my God.
Interesting one. Gym might be a little bit different, but my office when I came in one morning was 87 degrees. Anyways, and I do have just a heater that's in that little room and stuff. On page 6, at the very top, 19835 Quill Corporation for $1,248.80. Unfortunately, Suzanne's printer took a dive, and so it needed to be replaced. So that's where that came from. And those were all the ones that I highlighted. I see something that's
Page 2. This is portable only. $7,001.
Yep, so that was another transportation cost in the lift on the buses to Sean explained it to me. The one that they had that was over there when he first raised it, it just wasn't sturdy, and so it was it was gonna come down, and so it just needed to be replaced. Yeah. And he talked to me about it, and I can't remember the exact thing that it did. Any other questions?
I'm wondering, if, right, from the printing perspective, has the board ever discussed this having the monthly stuff scanned and emailed to us instead of making photocopies? Because I'm completely fine looking at a digital copy. Everybody else is. I mean, I don't know if that's a concern, but would it save you a little bit?
Think so. Maybe not this month. There was not much in it.
Right, but some months,
Especially those that are like the strategic plan and the handbooks. And
Yeah, those would be great to scan the.
I mean, and I'm happy to even bring my laptop and pull it up and have it here so that I can look at it digitally, but to save the school from having to do the work and the school from having to pay the cost. Maybe not everybody loves that idea, but those that would be willing, I would be willing to forego.
Well, and the.
And the postage.
Too much.
Has it ever been discussed? How do people feel about that? I mean, if some hate it, then you could still print it and send it to those that are like, I don't like that idea, and that's okay.
just have a couple copies that
Yeah, we could do that.
so that you could look at it digitally up till the meeting, and then maybe if there's some of you that would prefer to have it in a hard copy, we could just have those copies available at the board meeting, and then we save on the postage and
People try.
Yeah,
But if somebody just is like, no, I need it, I need a hard copy, then we could mail that one. But it potentially would save
The agenda and some of those things I'm writing on and making notes all the time, so I will,
maybe one.
some of those I would like some hard copy stuff on, but a lot of this stuff I end up, I got to Suzanne to shred when we leave.
I mean,
Yeah, it's a good idea.
want to try it? Not that if somebody absolutely was like, no, thank you, they could reach out to let Suzanne know that they would like to get a white paper copy, but if she doesn't hear from anybody, then we just assume everybody's okay with it. And is it a big deal to, like, if people wanted to bring their laptop and read stuff? Well,
That's fine.
I would gladly.
I'd be for that. I'm lucky to get it up. We have a new mail person.
Yeah, too.
It's crazy. We'll go a week without mail and then all of a sudden there's a pile and so yeah, it's been like that the last couple of years.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, you could just try it and see how people about it. Yeah, we could still bring some hard copies of the agenda if people like to take notes. Save a little money.
And even at the meeting, it's pretty easy to print in here.
Mhm.
Need something.
Sure.
along those same lines, this year we are doing a lot more email instead of mailings, just because again, the costs just continue to go up. And I think that challenge of people saying, I didn't get this, that, or the other. And, I was a little anxious the first time just to be like, what the parents, how they would respond to that. But I've actually received a lot of really positive comments in that they like having that digital copy because they can always go back and reflect on it instead of, having that hard copy. And so I'm anxious to kind of compare, those postage costs from last year, because I think it'll be significant. I mean, obviously we still have those mailings that we have to put out, but
What do you think about that? Oh, for sure.
yeah.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But
We'll try it for December.
So I got us off track, but I would make a motion to approve the expenditures.
We've been seconded to approve the claims and counts. Is there any other questions or discussion? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Lori did. Okay, next is public comment or communication. I don't have anything. Anybody have anything?
I did just want to note, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Anne and Jack have been working to do some plantings from the, replace some of the trees. And so we do have 4 oak trees that are planted along this side. And then there's 3, I'm going to say Lindell trees, I think, that are planted on the front facing side. And then the next part will be, and it won't probably happen until the spring, but it will be, the pavers and those different types of things. And so Anne has really just been instrumental in the whole thing and has volunteered and helped out in so many different ways. Caleb, we utilized one of his classes to plant the oak trees, which was fun for those kids to be a part of that process. And also part of what the grant was to have the kids have some ownership in it. And so we'll start seeing hopefully that transition and that growth of those trees as we continue to do. So we're excited. Big thank you to you. Just amazing.
Great. Any other comment or communication?
I think Mr. Igo's class game for pouring concrete out. Instead of having a hard dirt pack that most of the kids use from getting from the egg building over to the gym. Yeah, put the concrete in there.
Oh, good.
Yeah, they were working hard, Caleb. It didn't look like a government job for a while.
Ordinance goes prison movies and just contracting the kids up, but yeah, did a good job, and we got to tie it into our concrete unit with Mag 1 class and set forms and roomed it out, and I bribed Lane Phillips to help us make it look good, but
Yeah, Lane probably knows how, doesn't
Yeah.
Lane, he has concrete clothes ready to go. I just. gave $20-30 in front of him. He's like, oh, I got my stuff in my car.
he?
And all of a sudden, he's knee deep in it.
Any other comments? If not, we'll go to the superintendent's report, Megan.
Point one FFA national report. So Mr. Igo will be here, obviously, at the meeting. He's hoping to bring some of his FFA students, but it seems like Wednesday night is a busy night in Dillon. So they weren't able to come, and so he was just going to talk a little bit about his recent trip to nationals in Minneapolis.
Most of my FFA officers are also 4-H council kids, so they're down at the courthouse, whatever. But this is our premier chapter top 10 award from my suitcase. It's tragic, but from Friday nights, we were recognized as one of the top 10 chapters in the nation for our strengthening agriculture, ag literacy, ag advocacy efforts. With that exchange group that we did a couple of years ago, so that's a pretty neat little deal. And took 8 kids with me to Indianapolis. Probably one of the best groups of kids I've ever taken. They just were really appreciative and very positive about it. And I just think that makes a ton of difference when you have good kids that appreciate being there. Had some really cool opportunities to go tour at Churchill Downs and the Louisville Slugger Museum. You just go on this little Midwest road trip there, right? And it's really appreciated that. Indianapolis Zoo does a really good tour for FFA, kind of more focused on the animal welfare issues, and that was kind of neat to see it from that perspective. Obviously got to go on stage Friday night and receive that and see my apparently now I have TikToks about my face because you don't know if the camera's on you or not, and so you're kind of like start smiling because then you're on national television, so that's fun. And yeah, just a lot of tremendous opportunities. Friday morning we got up early, and to tell you what a special group of kids that is. We're going to go tour the racetrack at the Indianapolis 500, and they were resurfacing the track, so you couldn't go out and ride around pistol bricks or whatever. And so we got up in the morning and watched Temple Grandin speak. And if you're not familiar with her work, she's the professor of animal science at CSU with autism that has really redesigned all of our animal handling theory and facilities over the last 40, 50 years. And very engaging, and kids had their phones down and were just absolutely enraptured with what she had to say. And I thought that was a pretty neat bunch of kids to say, oh, let's skip the racetrack and the car museum and go watch the animal science professor speak at 8 o'clock in the morning. So pretty special group of kids. Had a great bunch, and paid for a lot of that trip with some grant money. So that advanced opportunities grant, like Ms. Conroy said, was just about $27,000. And I spent all but about $100 of my quarter in Indianapolis. So we had a really good trip, and I think it was very impactful and meaningful for those kids. And they came back right away, and they're telling everyone how cool it was, and now that everybody wants to go. So yeah, apologize, couldn't have Savannah with me tonight, but she's just tied up with Orange Council. That's great.
Congratulations once again to being top 10 in the nation. That's yeah.
Two technology levy discussion. So Mr. Tukowski is here, and he's going to share a little bit of information about, kind of our current levy amount and some of the current licenses and services and some of, just kind of what we are spending technology on. And I'll just kind of go ahead and pass this around so that you can see that while he goes ahead and shares some information.
I'll wait till they get around because I'm pointing at it. But just a thought, what about a Google Glassmill? And it could be collaborative and stop shopping. Thank you. Anyway, the technology challenges. So this is sort of the footprint we've left in terms of expenditures on technology. And it doesn't really explain the challenges that we have in it and what all it's going for specifically and what it's missing. But anyway, the constant challenge is change. I mean, that's forever. The security requirements change, they get updated, which can require new devices occasionally, at least new software. That said, devices outdate quickly. Operating system changes, and by that I mean, like, you know, since I started here with Windows 9, now we're knocking on the door of Windows 12. And those are all things that are, you'd like to not have to do it, and you can put it off as long as you can, but it's an expense and it has to be done if things quit working. And keeping up with all that in any sort of timely manner requires money. We're running on the bare necessity, right? Absolutely. So if you look down at the figures and start to get the current licenses and services, those are licenses that we pay annually. A full 2/3 of those are just for safety and security. The other 1/3 is spent on students, kind of. So you can see the smart board, for example, that's more of a teacher or a tool for the teachers, but it does benefit the students. But we have very little software other than the Microsoft Suite and Adobe that's directly benefiting students that way. And by comparison, you know, I've looked at other schools, they have a ton of educational software out there, which is sad to say, it's helping those kids keep up with the world. And it's ever changing and super fast. So, and then looking at the hardware portion, our current replacement for computers is about 6 to 7 years for our labs and about 10+ years for our staff. And typically what we do is we get great computers for the labs because they need them. They, you know, Ms. Conroe can speak to that. They need some oomph to get some of those programs running. When we retire them, then we redistribute those to the staff. Now they're already 4 years old typically, and they work for a while. But the pie in the sky replacement for technology is about a 3-year rotation. We could get by with a 5-year rotation pretty easily, which would be a 5-year improvement to what would be our current. I literally have teachers' computers that are dying on the vine, and the 14 we bought this year getting. I had a plan who was going to get them. Now I'm just replacing the ones that break down. So I feel bad that I promised them. And I'm getting them.
It's kind of bad. There's smart feelings.
Chromebooks have what's called an end of life period, which means that the Chrome browser will no longer update. And because of that, it excludes us on those particular Chromebooks from being able to do things like NTDA, ACT, all those kinds of things, because they require browser updates denote security. And so they don't want anything to be less secure. You know, pie in the sky on that deal. I mean, if I had my way, we would issue every freshman a Chromebook. They'd keep it 4 years, probably pay some small fee to us, and then either return it, keep it, or whatever. But after 4 years, it's pretty much useless. That would probably be 18 to 20 grand a year to put that up. Our servers are getting old too. We have technically 3 servers, but only 1 machine. The hardware machine houses the other 2 servers. They're called virtual machines. We don't need to get into that. But so we're saving money on the hardware, but those things also have to be updated. We're currently on server version 2016, which is antiquated. And in order to upgrade that will cost money too. And same with servers, less compatibility with its environment if you let it get old. Switches, another big expense. Servers and switches, by the way, are E-rate eligible. Everybody knows what E-rate is, right? So E-rate is a government-funded program. We get a discount based on our free and reduced lunch percentage. We're currently a 60% school, so we pay 40 cents on the dollar for those things that are eligible. And most things that are eligible are anything to do with internet, software for running the internet, machines for running the internet, all that type of thing. Sadly, not school or educational software as of yet. But like I said, switches are another thing that need to be replaced because of our ever-growing need for PoE, which is power over Ethernet, which means the computer cable itself has power. That's how that phone is run. You don't have to plug it in. It just plugs into the Ethernet, but more and more things are turning into that. And so bottom line is we're doing okay. I'm investigating ways to bundle some of these things so that we can save some money, just like Flo promises on Progressive. But there is a way to bundle some of them. I would never get involved with anything that wasn't peer approved by my tech geeks out in Montana. People who have actually used it, but there is some opportunity for money savings, but a pittance by comparison to the total.
So just kind of looking at, kind of that, our current levy is at $50,000. So, kind of looking at the total expenses, current for this fiscal year is about $162,000. And so $112,000 of that is coming out of other funds. And, a big portion of that is the general fund. So, one of the goals, obviously, of, and one of the things that the legislatures have put in place to try to fund schools is some of these voted levies and permissive levies and those different types of things. And so, obviously it takes, voter approval to be able to do that. But by increasing that, we do relieve some of those monies on the general fund. And, ultimately it means programs in other areas. And, unfortunately, technology isn't always a place where we can cut back, and it's not getting cheaper. One of the areas that we haven't even talked about on here is just the increases in our liability insurance due to cybersecurity. So, we're being asked and we're being tasked to do more and more and put more things in place to do that. And of course, it all comes with a cost. And so that's why it just feels like we're just really at that place where the $50,000 just is not enough. And I did put together something I learned new today, not necessarily today, but I've been just kind of working towards looking at, was just trying to come up with the estimated tax impact on a couple of different levies. And so if you look at that, see that's on there. If you look at that first one, I kind of put out there, obviously we're showing here that it's about $162,000 of current charges. And again, honestly, there's not a lot of fluff that's in it. There's not a lot of, like we talked about, curriculum software and, those different types of things that you're seeing happening in a lot of places. And so right now we currently have a $50,000 levy. The nice thing about the $50,000 levy is it's perpetual. And so we passed it, I think, back in 2007. And, we've had that chunk in there. We've been able to utilize it. We would never have to go back out to the taxpayers to do that. So it's forever. And so the change would be if we do decide to run a levy and it's successful, that new levy is for 10 years. And so if we ran a levy for $150,000, we would have to run another levy in 10 years to try to get that money back, if that makes sense. And we do lose the $50,000 perpetual. And so if we run it and we're not successful, we don't lose the $50,000. That is in there. But if we do go back to the voters to do that, it is for 10 years.
What's the difference? How did that become perpetual versus us not? Why wouldn't we want to just do that? Yeah.
Schools, I believe, and of course that was quite a number of years ago, that when it first came out as a legislative opportunity for us to do, it was established that way. After a certain period of time, obviously the legislation was changed to where it was no longer a perpetual levy. And so because we ran it, we were grandfathered in to be able to keep that from what I understand. And there are a lot of districts that have had to weigh that, because obviously 2007 was how many years ago? $50,000 was a significant amount of money when we were talking about technology, because we were just, honestly, we really were just getting into the networking and the servers and the individual logins and those different types of things. just those costs just continue to go up. And so, if you look on that sheet, obviously you've got the current levy and the 1.49 is the current mills. The projected levy, if we looked at doing 150,000, the projected mills for that would be 4.46. The amount that would change, and it's important to note that, so it wouldn't be $150,000. It would actually be an increase of $100,000 because that 50,000 is already being levied, if that makes sense. And so the changed mills would be 2.97, and so you can see the estimated annual tax impact. And again, that's estimated. This is based on the most recent taxable value information that just recently came out. And so the estimated tax impact on 100,000 and 200,000, 300,000 and a $600,000. And then down below that is that comparison to if we were to run it for $175,000 and what that looks like. Perfect. I hope I can answer that.
This levies for 10 years if it passes. So this is 162 this year. 10 years from now, this is gonna be 260. At least, right? I mean, that's going to be. So why wouldn't we run one for 225 or whatever the number is? To give us some cushion for 2 years and then, I don't know, I mean, 162, it'll never be that again. That's what it is this year, but it'll never be that. Not even close. So that's my first question. Second question, the cyber, when you talked about the cyber insurance, are the teachers that you guys have, that when you log on, are you required to have multi-factor, all of you who log in?
Not at this point.
Not currently.
So one of the ways that we can save money on our cybersecurity is we have Paul can probably speak to it a little bit more. There is it's called Upboard. It's a cybersecurity software program that basically we log into that just gives us an extra layer of support. It also provides, professional development in terms of, what a phishing scam looks like and, those different types of things. And if we have a certain percentage of our staff that is showing regular use of that, it can reduce the amount of the cost on the liability insurance. And we talked about the E-rate and some of those different things. I guess I don't know this, but I would anticipate that is something that is going to have to be discussed at a legislative standpoint, is monies to support some of the cybersecurity stuff, because it is getting to those costs where it isn't manageable for schools. And I'm sure I can't even imagine at the bank level what that looks like.
If the answer is no, don't go to question two. Because you're not. I think it's gonna be that way for everybody. It's gonna be that way in school.
Yeah, it's, there's different levels of it too, depending on the quality of the software that you're using. That currently, Robin, I went through this today, where they wanted you to authenticate through a Microsoft Authenticator. And that thing just doesn't. I mean, that's like getting an authenticator from Walmart versus the authenticator store. So, that's the so point is, additional software would also be needed. Yeah. In some instances, I mean, I could turn it on and email tomorrow, but
Yeah.
No, I think that those are valid questions. Obviously I went to kind of the lower end, just again, I think, the increasing taxes is definitely in Beaver County, it can be a challenge. And so, trying to push something through or move something through that would be supported. But you're right, in 7 years, we're going to be looking at the impact on the general fund being $100 and some thousand again, because it's not that same amount. And I will say that the elementary district is also moving towards running a technology levy this year as well. And I'm not 100% sure, but I think I think they were talking somewhere around $175,000 increase to theirs as well. But you look at, I think I just was looking at, remember what the school was, and it was a K-12 school, obviously, but it was close to $500,000 between the two or between the elementary district and the school district. And so, I mean, I think that that's a valid concern and something that, you know, as a board and that should be thought about in terms of what that looks like. And I don't necessarily think that we have to have an exact amount. You know, if there is an action item to, you know, to decide whether or not you want to pursue running a levy in May, I don't know that we necessarily have to have that final number attached to that, but I think we want to do it sooner rather than later, because I think the more information that we can get out to the community to ask for that money, the better.
Along the same line as Bill's question, if we run this, say we ran it for 175,000 and it passed, and 5 years from now, we need more money, can you run another one? Or are you just stuck for the 10 years?
Well, I guess I don't know 100% the answer to that question. I would assume that probably you could choose to run that, but again, you run the risk of losing it, what you have for that. Does that make sense for the remainder of those 10 years?
Is our monthly internet cost in this?
So the T1 line is in there. And that's Mhm. So that's monthly.
That's
Yep, right? The T1 line, the $1,200.
It says 200, but we only pay 40% of that. But the way Spectrum works is you pay the full price at the end of the year.
So that's an end. Well,
It's in.
Yes. Or no, 1,200 is
a month.
I think it's something we definitely need to do, and like Phil, I mean, if we're gonna do it, we maybe ought to do it for a larger amount. Like Megan says, if we don't have to decide that now, it's something we can think about. I do think, if my memory is very good, a lot of these technology levies have passed, haven't they?
They have in a
lot
lot
of
of
places.
different areas. You know, I do think that that is one, you know, area that communities and parents recognize that there is that need is there, and that those costs do continue to increase. And again, it's all of these different ways that the legislatures have designed to fund schools and different avenues that they've given schools to be able to fund those between permissive and voted in levies and stuff.
If we're not providing our students the best technology opportunities that we can, they're gonna be behind in the college and or the real world. I mean, they're gonna do it on their own home anyway, obviously, but some will.
Yeah.
Some that don't have the opportunities at
that's-
home, that don't have the
you know.
access at home. They're behind in their 18 and 80 year.
We're also kind of handicapping our teachers. You know, we have an older staff that they're used to mailing letters, so they don't mind. It's a little longer to fire up, but then you get characters like Igo that can't believe we're operating at this handicaps.
Absolutely.
Thanks for drawing me into that. Paul.
Never hear from you about technology. He did.
Yeah, I mean, if we need a motion to move forward with a technology levy this spring, I would make that motion. And if we need to wait to determine the amount, that's fine.
I can't make the motion until we get the action.
When we get to the action.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That-
Okay.
it's the action.
Hold. But I also agree with Bill, I think that we should look at it, I think at least 200, but maybe even. I think
And you know, one thing that you can look at is, I did see a spreadsheet that has, you know, 2025 and then 10 years out, which was just crazy to think about to 2035. You know, and then just kind of putting that amount in there and just kind of seeing how it compounds, you know, in terms of what that amount, that 112,000 turns into, but then that's not even including the inflation of just the increases of those costs that come with it.
And I'd want to point out that repair and maintenance line too. I mean, that $10,000 would be awesome, but just for example, after our ransom attack, besides what we paid the insurance company, we had to pay a consultant to rebuild it. And so any year can be extremely expensive, and the next year, sure.
It's just the absolute downtime and the pain that was. So being able to proactively do what you need to do to keep it secure and to have the resources to do that.
I didn't have any downtime here.
Yeah, you did not.
And so I'll try to put a few other things together just kind of in terms of that. And as you guys have different questions or maybe you guys have some insight or some input, send it my way. And maybe for the December board meeting, I can bring to the table a couple of other, calculations in terms of tax impact. And I mean, I guess if you do look at that, obviously we are in an area where, those home values and those property values can get up there and can be quite significant. So obviously there's a big difference between, $100,000 home and, some of, our ranches and those different types of things that are not listed on here. But again, it's just something to, easy to be able to look at from that perspective. And then
It might have to be really proactive in communicating it to our, really educating them on why this is so important.
I haven't addressed this topic since 2007.
Right,
That relates to how much the world has changed.
Exactly.
Just asking how often they have to change out their iPhone.
Yeah,
Right.
they know how.
People that own those big ranches and trophy ranches got that way because of their technology.
Yeah.
Yep.
other thoughts or questions.
Thank you, Paul.
We just
They're welcome back.
continue to bring that up and try to get that number so we can start really getting out there. I think that the election will be May would be the time when we would go to the voters to ask for that. So we've got some time.
Yeah,
for sure. to do that. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Paul. We already spot. 6.3 activity director report. So Mr. Milmecki was going to be here tonight, but of course he has traveled to Corvallis. They have their Class A meeting over there tonight before the divisional volleyball tournament. So he did share with me kind of his activities report. So if you want to, should have already passed these out, but if you want to take one of these and pass it around. And then he's got a bracket front and back for both the football and the volleyball as well. So his activities report: cross country concluded their season at the state meet that was held in Missoula on Saturday, October 22nd. And you can see there, this is how our students fared. Faye Holland was super close to the top 15, which is all state. She was at 18th. And so obviously she's a senior, but she just had a remarkable career and I think is looking to continue her career after high school. So this was Kelsey's first year and it was, she just did a great job and worked super hard and I think really enjoyed it. So it was a good experience for her. I think we had some challenges obviously that come with coaching, but at the same time, I think it was a really positive experience for her. Volleyball. The volleyball team has done this fundraiser for a number of years, but they have their annual Dig Pink night on October 16th versus East Helena. And they were able to raise $7,717.73 for the Southwest Montana Mammography Program at Barrett Hospital and Healthcare. I just know that the money that they do donate to them, goes right back into Beaverhead County and provides mammograms and healthcare for, women in our community in that regard. And so I know the first time that they did it, I can't remember how many years ago that it was, Autumn, and I just lost her name, Leslie Autumn. I mean, she was just emotional to get that influx of money. And so that fundraiser has continued to grow and our community has just been so super supportive. And kind of how they do it is it's kind of like a businesses and individuals can donate based on just a solid amount, or they could say they will donate, 10 cents for every dig, or, $1 for every ace, or whatever, and then they come back and they pay for that. And so it involves all of the kids, because the younger kids kind of keep track of the stats and those different types of things. So it's really grown, and it's really been a benefit to the community. So it's pretty special. And then the Western A Divisional is November 7th through the 9th, and the state tournament will be in Bozeman on November 14th through the 16th. And you'll notice that on the bracket that we earned the second seed in the Southwest. And so we open on Thursday against Columbia Falls. I guess that's tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So obviously volleyball is a double elimination tournament. So the bracket is a little bit, the bracket is there.
The top four go to state, correct?
And the top four go to state, yep. So our girls are really excited and feel like they've got a great opportunity to get there. And so hopefully that all of the stars align and they're able to get there. It was really exciting. It's been a few years since we've been at the state tournament. So speech and drama has begun practices and will attend their first meet on November 22nd. Football will host Fergus this Saturday, November 9th at 4 p.m. In the quarterfinal football game. It was kind of a unique situation this year in trying to, obviously, we no longer share a field with Western, but we do share a community with Western. And, we share emergency services, we share personnel, we share all kinds of different things. And so, obviously, we wanted to not play at the same time as Western. And so, we didn't think that would be a problem. And Brock really started working on that early last week, and then found that Fergus really was just a Saturday at one team, apparently. And so Brock did just a nice job of laying everything out and working hard to work through the process, and was able to secure Saturday at 4. So we're super happy for our community. We're super happy for our kids, and I'm super appreciative that, one of our goals is always to try to put on an event where the kids and the coaches just have to show up, and all of the things outside of that is taken care of. And obviously, if we start taking away our sideline crew, and we start taking away our ball boys, and we start taking away, some of those different things, we're not able to put our best foot forward to do that. And obviously, we would have made it work, and we would have found a way, but we feel like we can do a better job Saturday at 4 instead of Saturday. So anyways, that game will be at 4 o'clock. I do have tickets, so at the end, if you guys are interested, let me know how many tickets that you would like, and I can get those to you. So, winter sports student parent meeting will be November 18th at 7 o'clock p.m. Winter sports are set to begin on Thursday, November 21st for wrestling, and Monday, November 25th for basketball and cheer. I do know that Brock has been working really hard to try to get some of those winter sports to start after Thanksgiving. It's been a challenge to do that, but he feels like they're kind of moving in that direction. So hopefully we can do that. So it always starts just before, and those poor wrestlers are the ones that suffer the most. They start trying to get to weight, and they don't get to have their Thanksgiving dinner. But anyways. So that was his report. Again, I do have playoff tickets for Saturday, so don't forget at the end so that we can get those out to you guys if you are interested in attending. Again, Brock just does a nice job of putting everything together and advocating for what's right. So I'm super proud of it. Here, parent-teacher conference updates. So 6.4. So parent-teacher conferences were held on the evenings of October 14th and 15th from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We had an early release at 2:30 so that our after-school activities could get their practices in, and all of the coaches and teachers would be back. We did have a Freshmore football game on that Monday night, so that did have an impact, but we did increase our numbers this year by about 5%. We had 54 families on Monday night and had 62 on Tuesday, for a total of 116 families. It's always special because our FCS students work hard to make treats. So Kim has them making, treats throughout the week prior and on the day of. And so I know that a lot of the teachers really enjoyed the treats, but I think some of the families did too. And then a number of our Honor Society students also come in and welcome the families, which I think is just really cool. So they're always the first line when families and parents come in and they register them and, help set them up to be able to go where they need to go. So it's pretty cool. And obviously one of our biggest support going back, November 1st was the end of the quarter, which is just crazy that we completed the end of our quarter. So we've got 3 quarters to go. And I just think it's kind of nice, obviously we had parent teacher conferences, but one of our biggest supports that we have available to our students is our tutoring program. And I just think it's interesting to be able to kind of share with people kind of that impact that it does have. So we had 133 students that had to attend mandatory tutoring sessions. And this could be because they were failing in class, and that's math, English, science, or history. Or maybe they were gone and they missed a test or those different types of things. And so they had to attend one of the Tuesday, Thursday tutoring sessions because it was mandatory. We had 61 of our students during the quarter that got all of their grades to passing during that week. So some of those students might have only been failing 1 class, but some of those kids might have been failing 2 classes. So 61 of the students that had mandatory tutoring at some point during the week got all of their grades to passing. And then we had 105 students who attended tutoring voluntarily. So they just recognized it as a support, and they were gone or don't understand something, and so they are attending and going and getting those different supports. And I think one of the proudest moments for me is to see those kids the previous year that were on the tutoring list every single week that were really struggling, that this year are now proactively going to tutoring, and I haven't seen them all quartering up. And so one of our goals is to just really try to convince kids that even though there is mandatory tutoring, it's not a punishment. It's really a support. It's really something that can help you. And if you jump on it early, you might have to go 1 week, but then you're off. And then again, it just turns into a positive thing in a lot of situations. And obviously we have those that it doesn't necessarily work for, but it really is doing some powerful things for our kids. This meeting is ending. Oh, okay. We might have to do a second one. We'll see. So that was our parent teacher conferences. 6.5 vigilante field update. So I've been working with Mike Reed, the chancellor at Western, at acquiring vigilante field at BCHS as an asset for us. Mike Reed has just been wonderful to work with. I know that Roxanne was instrumental in kind of connecting us. We had a lunch right after that, and then just kind of working through that process. And he has just been super supportive in trying to find a way to transition that, 8.87 acres to Beaverhead County High School, which is just, it's a special place for us. Vigilante Field really holds a lot of great memories for us. It's a special place that we feel is our home. And so we're just super excited about that. And so he has put together a request to be on the Board of Regents and has been working with the Board of Regents to make sure that it's going to hopefully go through. And so I think November 21st is the meeting that they are hosting, but the plan will be that we will get to acquire Vigilante Field as a BCHS asset. And of course, they have asked to be able to utilize that field if that need comes up, which we would do anyways, just as a facility and as a community support. So we're just really excited about that opportunity, and just really thankful for that opportunity and that partnership to get to work with Western to be able to do that. And so he's at the city council meeting tonight. I was hoping to be able to go with him so that we could kind of show a united front. And then we were going to have Brock go, but of course he had his meeting that was there. And so we're in 2 different places kind of sharing the same information. And so Brock, just kind of thinking ahead, Brock has been talking to Sarah Bennett at the title company to try to make sure that when this does happen, that we can quickly make that transition. And the title is kind of interesting because it's quite old where the whole thing kind of came about. And so there was some challenges in that, but I think it's all set in place to be able to do that. I did reach out to Mark Durham as our insurance agent just to make sure that we had I knew we had vigilante on our policy, but if it was going to change anything